What irks him the most about all of this?
For me, the worst thing is when I actually go and talk to the ref and they say it was nothing. Like I go over, you didn't see that? No, I didn't think it was anything. There's no call, there's no foul. Like that's the worst for me. If he says, you know what, I may have missed that one, or maybe I wasn't in the right position. But when you see the ref right there on the baseline looking at the whole play, and you go up to him and you say there's no call multiple times in the crunch time, that's the frustrating part.
All right, to the game action. Despite being frustrated with NBA officials, LeBron James got off to a pretty strong start. James here with a nice spin move. Before finishing at the rim, he ended the night with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists. But the real story of the game was the performance from Vince Carter. Carter, who had missed the previous 3 games due to a rib injury, was giving the Cavs all sorts of problems. Carter with a 3-pointer in Kyle Korver's face. The 40-year-old was turning back the clock, and he was not done. Late in the fourth, Kings up by 12. Carter dribbles the ball between his legs before making that fadeaway jumper in the face of Jay Crowder. Carter finished with 24 points. The Kings go on to win 109-95. Now let's get it back to First Take.
All right, so you just got the breakdown there. The Kings putting a little salt on LeBron's wound last night. Cavs have now dropped 3 of 4, and the King not happy with the officiating, as you just heard, especially on Christmas Day. Mina, does he have a legitimate beef here?
I love his quote. He's not mad. He's just disappointed, guys. But to be fair, he is right to be a little irked. LeBron James has been officiated differently his entire career. You can look at any season and find statistical evidence. Right now, for example, on shots inside 5 feet, he's taken the 3rd most attempts behind Giannis and Boogie. Not surprising. Now, in free throw attempts, Giannis and Boogie are 2nd and 4th in the NBA. LeBron is 14th. This has always been the case with him. It's because of his size and his physicality. He's like one of Dominique's 300 favorite MVP candidates, Robert Gronkowski, in that way. He is treated differently because he has to be defended differently because he plays basketball differently. It's unfair, but it's inevitable.
So there are 2 things. One, you said that his size is the reason why he's officiated differently, and then you cite Giannis and Boogie like they're small guys who somehow get more fouls because they're tight. Those are big guys. That doesn't make sense. And 2, you are not speaking to the beef that LeBron has. Like, I agree that he's been officiated differently and probably unfairly for his entire career, and that's unfair. But what he said he wanted was to go to officials in crunch time and them to admit that they missed the call or them to say that they were out of position. Somehow he wants us to believe that that's what he really wants, that somehow he's going to react better to that. Like the idea that the officials are knowingly making the wrong call. Like, I understand that's not crazy because we do have Tim Donaghy. Never forget, we had that history in the NBA. But I think it's super unlikely that LeBron would be happier if after he got fouled, there was a no call and he went over to the official in crunch time, and the official was like, my bad, I was out of position. I blew that.
He's not saying they're knowing this. He's not saying there's this grand conspiracy against him. He's saying that they probably are making mistakes because they have unconscious biases because of his size and his style of play, and that he's LeBron James, and those affecting their play calling, and they're not admitting when they're wrong. And yes, they are wrong as they were, on Christmas. Right. As far as the Giannis and Boogie thing, my point, Dominique, was that the 3 of them should have roughly equivalent numbers of free throw attempts because they're so physical and because they shoot, and they don't. You got Giannis and Boogie, and then LeBron's all the way down here, which suggests an inequity.
So the point about him wanting it to be different is he's saying that in the moment, that there's no other way to interpret it than he believes that they are knowingly doing it wrong, because he's saying they make a call, 1 second later he goes over to complain, and they're supposed to say, my bad, I missed that, which means that they knew it and they made the wrong call. So I don't understand how you're trying to dress up what LeBron's actual quote is. I know, like, everyone wants people to be honest with them, but I believe that there aren't any more Tim Donaghys in the league and that these officials are making what they believe to be the right call. You're saying that they have unconscious bias, but LeBron wants them to be conscious of their unconscious bias within seconds, and he's somehow trying to convince us that he's going to react better to that. Like, if I had a missed call and the ref was like, I blew it, I would go off.
He just wants them to be less definitive in their ignorance, in the same way that we want NFL refs to not come out after a bad catch call and say, oh, no, we were 100% right. 99% of America is just wrong. He would just like a little bit, I'm speaking out LeBron like I'm his interpreter right now. He would just like a little bit of nuance.
You're reaching.
Because everybody knows he's officiated differently. Acknowledge that. We can't pretend like it's not happening.
So now it is happening. I agree, but you're arguing that LeBron wants to have a no call and wants the ref to be like, I didn't really see it.
Or
I
to
don't really
explain
know.
it,
I was
just to
out
not
of position.
pretend like it was so obvious that Kevin Durant didn't slap his arm all the way across him. He just wants them to. Something happened. Say, hey,
That's for. I mean,
60-40, man.
that's what the final
We went
2-minute
the other
report.
way.
That's what the final 2-minute report is about. He has that. We told him after the game that we blew it, and he's still angry about it. So I'm not against LeBron. I agree with you that he's probably being officiated unfairly, and he has been for his entire career, and I don't think he should have to put up with it. I'm fine with him complaining about it. I'm fine with him throwing tantrums on the floor. What I'm not fine with is him somehow believing that a ref saying I was out of position is going to make him feel better, because that's what you want to hear when 3 seconds are left in the game, and they miss a call. You want a ref to say, my bad.
We have the 2-minute report. Has it changed anything? I mean, as I just said, you admit this has been happening to LeBron for years. We've had refs acknowledging that they've been making mistakes. Does the 2-minute report change their behavior? Has it reduced changed officiating on LeBron?
So, I mean, it's hard to argue against a negative. Like, maybe it has. You don't know what it would be without the 2-minute report. But do you think that the refs being honest in the moment, or the refs admitting mistakes at the time, is going to change anything? Or somehow knowing of their unconscious bias at that very moment? That's not going to change anything either. So I don't understand how you can argue that the 2-minute report isn't changing anything, but somehow what LeBron is actually asking for is going to change and improve the current state. It's going to make him lose his mind. He's going to end up with more text, because that's what happens when someone tells you a second after they blew something that they blew it.
LeBron James is just asking for fairness. That's why a month ago after his ejection, he came out and said they're trying to make me a jump shooter. He lays these little messages around because he wants people to listen to them. He wants the narrative to get out there and take hold, and for there to be some awareness. It's kind of like a LeBron James awareness campaign that he's officiated against differently. We see the same thing again with Gronkowski. I'm not going to hold it against him to put that out there, because he's right. Literally, and that's, Dominique, we're arguing about semantics, and maybe he should have put it differently.
He doesn't want fairness.
Fundamentally, we agree. Fairness. He's right. He's being officiated against. Do you think officiating against LeBron is fair? Yes or no?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think it's unfair, but I don't think he's arguing for fairness.
Your quibble is that
I think he's arguing for superstar treatment. He wants superstar treatment, which he deserves. Every superstar has gotten superstar treatment throughout the history of the NBA, and I think LeBron probably gets it more often than not. The problem was, in this particular game, he was facing off against another superstar, and that treatment went in the wrong direction for him. I don't think that LeBron James has been, I think that he's probably been officiated unfairly, because rarely do we see someone who's 6'8" with the handle of a guard and can penetrate like that, and the refs don't know what to do with it. But if you're trying to say that I'm arguing over semantics, then that's what he should have said. That's what he should have said. That's not what he said. He said, I want the refs to tell me that they made a mistake in the moment. That's nonsense.
He said things his entire career and nothing's changed it. I'm not going to hold it against him to keep throwing stuff against the wall to ask to be officiated fairly. He just wants to be treated like Giannis and Boogie.
Yeah, I think that things probably have changed throughout the course of the career. I didn't look up to see how Russ reacted after he made comments, but you're going to say that LeBron James doesn't get superstar treatment in some situations on court? Like, I think he gets the benefit of the doubt pretty often because he's a superstar. Yeah. I'm talking about fouls, too. I think he's a superstar.
You're saying he wants
gets the benefit of the doubt sometimes.
I'm saying he just wants fair treatment, or at least I want that for him, that he should be officiated against correctly. Not that he needs to get, like Kevin Durant, what he got away with, that madness last week. I'm just saying, if a guy slaps his arm across LeBron James' chest, let's call it.
I can't help but think, guys, that this situation is scrutinized more because it is LeBron James and Kevin Durant as opposed to a potential no-name person in the NBA. But we will continue here on First Take. It was the year of the protest in the NFL, but was it the biggest story in sports in 2017?